What the just happened? So I was planning to not talk about cricket again because, well, frankly, you guys seem to be not that into it, but it'd be wrong for me not to talk about this. For the first time since 1997, the West Indies have won a test match in Australia. The first team outside of India to beat us in nearly a decade. It was absolutely incredible scenes. One of the best test matches in Australia for a bloody long time. This was supposed to be our bad summer. This was supposed to be the summer where we had a quiet one, and it felt that way. Obviously, of the 4-year cycle, we have India, we have the Ashes, which are the two big series. Last year, we had South Africa, which was a good test for us, and we hadn't played them for a while. But this year, Pakistan and the Windies at the end of what had been a big year of cricket anyway. We needed to feel the test summer, and unfortunately for us as spectators, we weren't very thrilled by it. But holy heck, did Pakistan and the Windies put up a better fight than anyone was expecting. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you do enjoy the video, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, because this is officially the unofficial home of Australian sport. But we need to talk cricket here today because there's so many things that we have to talk about. The first one, I just want to shout out the West Indies and Pakistan because, like I said, this was supposed to be our easy summer. This was supposed to be, in all fair income, the beta summer. West Indies, Pakistan haven't fired a shot in Australia for a decade, and Pakistan in 2 tests came really close to beating us if they just took their chances. And the West Indies, well, they did actually beat us. It's no surprise looking at it that we did actually drop a test match in the end because, in all fair income, and that's why I'm here to talk about this, the Australian Test cricket team, we are finally entering a transitional period, which sucks because we're just about to enter the 2 most tough summers here in Australia with obviously India and then the Ashes the year after. But we're going to be entering a very difficult period for us. Obviously, David Warner just retired. Steve Smith is close. Khawaja is close. Nathan Lyon's close. Mitchell Stark's getting up there in age. It's not, have the farewell tour just yet. But Jesus Christ, after this summer, there's got to be at least a meeting, at least an internal meeting, because that was just not good enough. And we came away with a 4-1 summer. We came in with a 3-0 win over Pakistan, but that was very lucky. Pakistan could have easily just won that Melbourne test. They could have. They dropped so many chances throughout all 3 tests, but especially in Melbourne, especially in the slips. Looking back, it's no wonder that we lost 1 test match, but there are 2 standouts. Shamir Joseph, 13 wickets, 7 for 68 in the final innings. One of the best bowling performances in a test match that you will ever see on his debut series, and he was easily the best player on the field for either team. I know it was a 1-all series, but even in that first game, in his first innings, he took a 5 for there in Adelaide. Just an absolute freak. And even Pakistan, Amir Jamal, he took 6 for 69 on his debut. 18 wickets, an average of 20, up there with Pat Cummins in that series. Another close one. And like I said, Pakistan could have easily taken a game or 2, maybe potentially won the series off Australia, because while I do think the win in Perth was pretty dominant when Gaz brought up his 400th wickets, Melbourne and Sydney at 2 times looked real shady. I think Sydney we would have won, but Melbourne, Pakistan should have won that test, which is a concern because we have been sort of struggling at the MCG in recent years. And I want to congratulate Pakistan and the Windies because Pakistan, while they didn't get the chockies, they were absolutely incredible. And the Windies did get the chockies by producing one of the best test matches in Australia that we have seen for a long time. And one of the best performances we have seen. That's the first loss of the Pat Cummins era here in a home test match. And it's amazing. The first time since 1997. No one saw this coming. People weren't even watching. No one even turned up at the Gabba on that final day, which is a whole different topic because Jesus Christ, Brisbane, get your act together. But we had to give them the props. Pakistan, who could have easily taken 1 or potentially 2 tests off Australia, winning a series in West Indies. Obviously, they won the second innings. To be honest, that was really dominant, that first match in Adelaide. But that second match in Brisbane was just absolute theatre. But I have to give them props because what I'm going to say is going to sort of discourage them. And I don't want that to be the case because you cannot discredit what the West Indies and Pakistan just did. I know Pakistan didn't get the chockies, but West Indies thoroughly deserved that win. That is actually probably a good thing looking back, not just for Australia, because it's going to shoot a rocket up their ass after what has been some pretty disappointing performances, especially in the batting this summer. but also maybe it's just the thing that keeps Test cricket alive. I mean, Joseph has already just signed with an IPL team this morning, so his value is only going to balloon, and if we can keep a superstar potentially like him in the Test arena, then that is going to coach so many West Indian kids to keep playing God's greatest summer game. Let's talk about it because that was just not good enough, especially that final Test match. The bowling was pretty good. It was great. I mean, we took 20 wickets in all 5 Test matches of the summer. Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, Mitchell Starc, and Nathan Lyon. 4 of the best bowlers, 4 of the top 10 bowlers of all time. They've all been playing at the same time. They all played every day. They all bowled every ball. It was incredible. It's hard to fault them, especially Pat Cummins. A lot of people are giving Pat Cummins shit because of that declaration on the final day. If a partnership between Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood in the back end of night time on day 2 or day 1 or whatever it was going to win us the Test match, then I'm sorry, but you're just wrong. It was the good call from Pat Cummins. All the commentators were with him. I was with him, and we even took the wicket at night time. If a Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood partnership under lights is what lost us the game, then we deserve to lose anyway. And it shouldn't be down to them. It shouldn't be down to Pat Cummins in that Pakistan series especially, was absolutely phenomenal summer. He took 10 wickets in 1 Test match. He took 18 across the series against Pakistan, averaging 10 or 15. Absolutely incredible. Pat Cummins is just entering his prime, and I genuinely think that he could go and become not just one of the great captains for Australia, but I think he's already up there as one of the great fast bowlers for Australia. Nathan Lyon too, probably the second best spinner behind the late great Shane Warne. Mitchell Starc's always been underrated. He's up there, and Josh Hazlewood just entered the top 10 for wickets. So while I do think that there were some minor criticisms, they were great all series. We have to talk about this batting lineup. The batting was horrible this series. We scored 200s, and they're from guys who David Warner's not even the team anymore, and Travis Head, he got the 100, but I love you, Trav. He's my favorite batter now that Warner's retired, but he had an awful series, obviously getting a pair in Brisbane when we lost to the Windies. Outside that 100 in Adelaide, which was entertaining us all and reminded us of the Travis Head we've known to come and love in Test cricket, he really struggled this summer. But it wasn't just him. Marnus, Usman, Smith had their worst summers for quite some time. I mean, Marnus Labuschagne, the number 1 Test batsman in the world, he has absolutely fallen off a cliff since those first 2 Tests against the West Indies at the back end of 2022. They've tried putting Smith at the top of the order, and thank God Smith was as good as he was, because if Smith went out there and got another duck or another low score, then we are in some serious trouble. It's hard to do a big internal review and drop a bunch of blokes because they're the best we've got. And that's not like saying, they're the best because we don't have anyone else. We've got plenty of other people. But these guys are the best players in the world. But 5 Tests in a row on home conditions to bring up only 200s, one of them from a bloke who's not even the team anymore, it is really concerning. Marnus is, dare I say it, already past his prime. I mean, he's been averaging 12 since the end of 2022, and he hasn't gotten a Test 100. I mean, I don't know what the heck's happened to Smitty. Smitty has just absolutely fallen off a cliff. Travis Head, he had an awful summer, to put it bluntly. Mitchell Marsh was a highlight, and Alex Carey did his job with the bat on current occasions, and he's not a true batsman. He's a wicket keeper, but he's still providing plenty of runs. And even our tail is helping them a little bit. I mean, Gaz scores quickly, Starc scores quickly. Hazlewood can't even buy a run, unfortunately, but he's a number 11. You expect that. And Pat Cummins, he's averaging over 20. This wasn't a traditional Australian summer where we just absolutely dominate. Every game was at least close, except for maybe the West Indies first game. But even then, we didn't get a huge score. We just bowled them out very quickly. This was the first time Australia's failed to get a score of 400. Usually here we bat for the first 2 days and then bowl them out, and we're batting by lunch on day 3. Obviously, huge credit to the West Indies and Pakistan, which I've made absolutely clear. But this isn't good enough from the Australian men's cricket team. This is the national sport. This is our team that we can hang our hats on. And everyone's throwing Pat Cummins under the bus. But Marnus, who I love, Steve Smith, who I adore, Khawaja, who had an unbelievable 2023, and you cannot drop Usman Khawaja, but that was his worst test summer since he came back a few years ago. It's just been a really, really, really disappointing summer, which is crazy. We've walked away the 4-1 win, but there's just cracks everywhere, and we're going to New Zealand at the end of February, beginning of March, and if they play like that, they're going to get bulldozed. And if they play like that against India, and if they play like that against England at home, then we're going to lose the Ashes. We're not going to beat India, and we need to beat India. India have embarrassed us twice. Obviously, the first time in 2018 was a bit different. That was the height of the sandpaper saga. We had no Smith and we had no Warner, but Warner's gone now, and we haven't been able to get one back on India in the test match arena. Plus the Ashes, we were very lucky in 2023 to walk away still with the urn in a very entertaining series. England played unbelievably. I don't think Australia were at their best. I think England were close to, and we still managed to at least draw the series thanks to some rain on that final day. But if they play like they did this series, despite winning 4-1, they play like this against them at Australia, England will wipe the floor with us in our own country, which cannot happen. We've had the Ashes for too long to let it slip now. I think Australia's test team is in trouble. The problem is these guys are so good. I wouldn't be dropping any of them. I'd be sending them to New Zealand, including Cameron Green, which I think is going to be the big discussion point because they revamped this whole lineup, moving the best number 3, number 4 batsman Australia has seen since Don Bradman to the top of the order to accommodate for Cameron Green, who's been around for a while now. He debuted in 2020 during the COVID year. It's now 2024. He hasn't really fired a shot, and he's had great chances. He's already one of the best fieldsmen in Australia's history. I mean, the stuff he's doing at Gully is absolutely unbelievable. And to average 35 with the ball proves that he's a good all-rounder. The problem is he's just not scoring runs. He looks very tentative when he goes out to the crease, and who can blame him? These guys are bowling 150 km/h rocks at your head, but the rest of them are doing it. It was a bad summer for majority of the batsmen, so it's hard to blame Cameron Green, who only got 2 test matches. But this New Zealand series with India and England coming up in the next few years is huge for Cameron Green. This will either be the making of him. If he goes out and struggles and we get battered in New Zealand, then I do think there's some huge questions to be raised over Cameron Green, especially if Smithy struggles, especially if they all struggle. We need to score some runs. If they score some runs, then I think maybe we could be seeing a few boys dropped. But I'd be keeping the same team for New Zealand, but Jesus Christ, I think the bowling is still great. I don't think any of those boys need to be moved on just yet. Maybe they could sub in a Scotty Boland every now and then, but just like I said, you can't fault the bowling. I don't think they conceded more of a score than 350 runs, which in our own country we probably should. But if we can do that against India and England, that'd be absolutely phenomenal. But ladies and gentlemen, I think the Australian cricket team is entering a transitional period. Let me know what you think in that comment section down below. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel because this is the official, unofficial home of Australian sport. And I'll see you in the next one.